I sense that if you said to her, I will give you the $2,000, I will go on the cruise instead of you, she would have said, great. No. She would have said to you, great, you go on the cruise and I won't. But right now she had $2,000 invested in this cruise and she hadn't seen a penny from you.
Yes, she had, ma'am.
Oh, really? You paid for some?
I was giving her all my checks that I was receiving from him.
Checks?
To pay for,
listen to me.
Well, cash, to pay for credit card bills that were outstanding when we met.
We're not talking credit card bills, sir. We're talking about the cruise.
That's how the cruise was paid, on credit card.
How much money were you giving her?
I was receiving $500 a week.
In what?
In cash.
Cash. I love it when a game plan comes together. Just think of it this way, sir. It's your contribution to taxes. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,552.
Judge,
That's all.
I have some jewelry I want to give back to his daughter.
Perfect. That's all. Thank you.
LaDonna Sanchez is suing her former friend and roommate, 26-year-old Sean Henry, for unpaid loans, rent, and a stolen VCR.
Order. All rise. Judge's case number 347 on the calendar in the matter of Sanchez versus Henry. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Well, each of you claim that the other owes you money. Just about the same amount of money, $2,600 change. Ms. Sanchez, you claim that this gentleman was living with you. He left owing you money for a variety of things, which you'll tell me about. You say you made a loan to her for lawyer, $1,500 for something. You'll tell me about that. So why don't you start from the beginning? How come the two of you were living together?
Sean said he had no place to go. And when we first moved together, he was getting kicked out of his apartment. I was leaving my apartment.
Had you been friends?
Yeah, we had been friends. We had met at work. And at the time, we were staying in a hotel, and it was like you pay every week. Then we found an apartment through one of his friends at work. He got the apartment in his name, okay? And then later I had got it put in my name. I have a rental agreement. And I was giving Sean the money because he knew the landlord. I had no idea, and I work at night. And so I would give Sean money every week to pay rent. Sean didn't pay rent. I have an agreement that we both signed saying that we're both 4 months in the hole in rent. And I'm like, you know, how in the world can this be? I give you money every week, you know?
What you're telling me is you gave him your share of the rent.
Every
How
week.
much was the rent?
$250.
$250 a month?
Each.
Yes, each. It's $500 a month.
Okay. So you gave him your $250?
Yes.
And he never paid the rent?
No. I have a piece of paper saying right here that we're both, and he signed it. We both signed it, saying that we're 4 months in the rent, 4 months behind in the rent to this day.
Didn't I pay her 70?
I don't know. Do you have a receipt?
Shh, don't talk to each other. Don't talk to each other. Okay. You both signed that you're both responsible for half the rent. Did you pay the rent, sir?
When I moved out, I paid $750.
I'm talking about while you were living there with her.
We lived together for a whole year and a half.
Shh. How long were you living in the apartment together?
About a year and a half, 2 years.
And did you pay the rent?
Yes.
All that time?
Yes.
No, he didn't. He's lying.
Ms. Sanchez,
Yes, ma'am.
you have rent receipts?
She had them all.
Did you ultimately pay all the rent?
Not yet. I am still in the hole because of Sean.
How did that come about, that you're in the hole?
Okay, Sean was unemployed. First, Sean moved out, okay, because me and Sean and my boyfriend were living together, right? And everything was fine, but we still owed her $2,000.
The three of you were living in the apartment?
Yes.
And the rent was $500?
Yes.
So
but my boyfriend didn't really live there. He wasn't responsible for any of the rent. That was my responsibility. He didn't hardly have any clothes there, okay? He was just,
you just told
there.
Me the three of you were living
in
there.
a two-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
He had his own room. I had my own room. He had his company. I had my company. So my boyfriend didn't really live there. He had all his clothes someplace else. My boyfriend did. Sean was fired from his job, came crying to me that he didn't have any place to go. Okay, no place to go. He couldn't go live with his brother. They were having problems. He can go live with his father. They're having problems.
So what you're saying to me, madam...
So I let him move back in. I let him move back in on the agreement that he helped me with households.
In May of 1997, sir, you signed an agreement that you owed her a total of, well, this would be $1,000. right? Because it says that total owing was $2,000. And Henry and Sanchez are responsible for 50% of the total, and you signed this, correct? So you acknowledged in May that you owed her $1,000.
Yeah.
Right? Did you pay her?
I paid the landlord $750.
No. I'm not saying what you paid the landlord. I'm saying what you paid her.
Why would I owe her?
Because I gave you the money every day to pay the rent, and you didn't, stupid.
Now, you want me to dismiss your lawsuit?
No.
This is $2,000. Each of you owe half of that. So that's $1,000. Did you pay it or did you not pay it?
I paid $750. I guess I still owe the landlord $250.
When did you pay the landlord $750?
July?
When did you move out?
July?
No.
Shh. Show me the receipt.
I don't have that.
That makes this easy. So that's $1,000. What else does he owe you for?
He bought, through his work, I got a VCR because he could get it cheaper from Dow Stereo.
How much did you pay for it?
$160.
Okay.
That's all the money that I gave him for the VCR.
How much did you pay for the VCR?
Got a receipt right here.
Okay.
$213.
$213, and you gave him $160. Where's the receipt?
I didn't ask Sean for receipts.
Okay. Did she give you $160 for the VCR?
Every
No.
day I get...
You wanted a video camera.
Listen to me.
But you didn't.
You each want money from each other. It would be very foolish. So you say you bought it for $160, and you're going to show me a receipt for $213. And you claim that when he moved out, why did he move out?
Because he wouldn't do his chores, nor did he pay rent. The first month that he moved back in after he was unemployed, he went to Las Vegas, okay? That was on Memorial Day. Didn't tell me anything. And then he comes home, oh, I'm broke, I went to Las Vegas. Like, what the hell are you going to Las Vegas for? Oh, so I could see if I can win some more money. And I'm like, you've got to be stupid. And every day, that month that he was there and he was unemployed, I gave him money, because every day I had to go to work.
Are you finished?
Yes.
What's the address of this apartment where you live together?
802, apartment A. He didn't help me with the chores. He didn't help me take care of the
I don't care. I'm not your therapist, madam. This is a court.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Are you telling me that this attorney, under the penalties of perjury in the state of California, is lying?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, really? Maybe I'll call him.
And later today,
And she was in high demand because she was a natural blonde and had natural big breasts.
I'm sure if I chose to pursue that career instead of a research scientist, I would be in high demand, yes.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dancer LaDonna Sanchez wants her former close friend Sean Henry to pay her for back rent. Sean says she kicked him out.
So what happened with the VCR that you said was yours?
He took it from me. I went to sleep. He went in my room and took it out of my room.
Okay. Now what's your story?
I let her use it. I never said she can have it. I bought it.
What a crap.
Shh, shh.
I said you could use it.
Now, you also say that you made some loans to him. You want to tell me about that?
The month that he moved in, since he was unemployed, he would ask me for money every day.
I'm not talking, Miss, listen to me. I'm not talking about the $5 and the $10 that you say you gave him because he was unemployed. Did you lend him any large sums of money for which he promised to make payment?
Not all at one time. Every day, can I borrow some money? Can I borrow some money?
Did you keep a record of that?
He was my best friend.
Did you keep a record? The answer is no. So you're just guessing about how much money you lent
No,
him?
I'm not. I knew how much money I had saved in my drawer before he had moved in.
So how much money did you give him?
$350.
I don't believe that you can.
I did. Every day I gave him $20 or $30 every day because he needed it.
So
he
did
needed
you
it for
write
gas.
down-
He was supposed to go look for a
Did
job.
you write
I
down-
bought him news.
You're not listening to me, Miss Sanchez. I said, did you write down these numbers?
I didn't think I had to.
Well, then that's a problem.
He's supposed to be my best friend.
Oh,
He was supposed to be my little brother.
You're countersuing her for a lot of money too. Let me hear it.
Well, one time
Not well. Look at me.
she got arrested coming back across the border, and she needed a lawyer. So she called me crying, I need a lawyer. So I paid $1,500 for a retainer to try and help her out.
When was this?
June 26, 96.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No.
You just took out a piece of paper. What is that?
This is the piece of paper that was the only thing that I'd gotten from that lawyer. I saw that lawyer once. I knew it wouldn't do me any good. I cussed Sean out on the phone about what do I need a lawyer for? The lawyer wasn't going to do me any good.
Just a second. You went to see a lawyer.
No, I didn't. The lawyer came to jail. And I'm like,
shh. Lawyer came to jail. Lawyers don't do anything for free.
I didn't ask him for the lawyer. I never asked him for the lawyer. And if I did ask for a lawyer, it wouldn't be from him. It would have been from Rudy, my boyfriend.
Listen to me. Where were you when you paid this lawyer? Were you in
I was...
California?
Yeah.
Does he have a receipt?
I have a feeling you two people deserve each other because you are, Miss Sanchez, irritating me. And I'm just about ready to show you the door. Do you understand?
Yes.
With nothing. Not your $1,100, with nothing, if you do it again. You got it? I want you to show me any documentation, sir, that you have with regard to this lawyer.
Right here.
Can I see it, please? Well, this clearly is a letter from an attorney indicating that he accepted a non-refundable retainer in the amount of $1,500 from the defendant on your behalf on the 26th of June, 1996.
That's his ex-girlfriend's boyfriend's father. Why wouldn't he write him that piece of paper?
Are you telling me that this attorney, under the penalties of perjury in the state of California, is lying? Are you...
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, really? Maybe I'll call him.
No,
Maybe I'll call him. You want me to call him?
Can you look at this for me
Sure.
for a minute?
I asked you a question. Do you think I have to call him?
No.
Right.
But he was never my attorney. I did not ask Sean to get me a lawyer.
How did you find out she had been arrested?
She called me from jail.
I believe that, Miss Sanchez.
I did not ask him.
How would he know that you're in jail unless you called him?
I did call him from jail.
And what did you call him for? To say, how are you?
No, we lived together.
This happened a long time ago, correct? Did you ever sue her for this money?
No.
Why?
So I cared about her.
Good.
Excuse me, Your Honor, may I say something?
Sure.
When the lawyer thing came about...
You're lying, Miss Sanchez. Don't lie to me. I don't like when you lie to me.
I did not. Yeah. I'm not lying.
Sure you are. Now, was there ever an agreement that you had with her that she would repay this lawyer's fee to you?
Well, we had an agreement.
Mr. Henry, you don't want to go down that road, sir. I guess you do. You want to tell me about this agreement? Tell me what words we used, Mr. Henry.
Well, she said, get me out of here. Whatever it costs.
And you said?
I'll try the best I can. I borrowed the money from my brother.
No, don't tell me how you borrowed the money. She said, get me out of here. Right?
Yes.
And you did?
Well, I tried.
Okay. No, an agreement to pay it back means get me out of here, whatever it costs, and I will pay you back. That's a contract. That's an oral contract. But you didn't have that with her.
No.
Okay. Well, that's what I thought. So, that's honest.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You never paid rent. You didn't clean up the house. You didn't clean up your stuff. I had to sit up there and pick up after you. Bought food and everything.
And later today...
She begged me for sex, Your Honor. Literally.
Mr. Swan, you're not that attractive, sir.
Thank you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Exotic dancer LaDonna Sanchez wants her former close friend Sean Henry to pay her for back rent, loans, and a stolen VCR.
I can't figure out who owns the VCR. I have a bill here for $213. So
she's also caused damage to my truck.
Shh. So I can't make a determination with regard to the VCR. I can only make a determination with regard to the contract that you both entered into, indicating that you are indebted to her for the amount of $1,000. Now, you want to tell me about this truck?
Yeah, she's damaged it.
Well, tell me about that.
Well, one time at work, she said she locked the keys in, so she had to break the back window, and I had to pay for that.
I paid him back.
Shh.
And when we were in a fight, I wouldn't let her drive it. She didn't have a license or insurance on it.
So what did she do to the truck?
She kicked it. Put a nice dent on the driver's side door.
Let me see.
And I got estimates of the damage right here.
Looks like there's lots of damage on this truck. Lots of scratches on this truck.
From his DUIs.
You have about your boyfriend kicking it.
Oh, wonderful. You ready? Dismissed! Dismissed! Goodbye.
Parties are excused. Step out.
I don't understand why it was dismissed. Because I talked? He was supposed to be my best friend. Okay, he dogged me just because I won't be his stupid girlfriend. Sorry. Now it's dismissed because you're stupid. Never see my fucking money again. Make me sick.
And now the next case.
Parties on Maris versus Swan. Step forward.
32-year-old research scientist Ann Maris is suing her former friend, physical education instructor William Swan, for unpaid credit card bills.
Why do women give men credit cards?
I think it has something to do with the word convinced. Mr. Swan looked me straight in the eye and told me he loved me, wanted to marry me, that I thought he had morals.
Mr. Swan. Go ahead.
I thought he had morals.
How did you meet him?
I met him in the produce section of an Asian store, Asian market.
And how long did you know him before you put his name on your credit
5
card?
months.
And had you dated during that 5 months?
Beginning about 2 or 3 months prior to that, we started seeing each other on a more regular basis and talking pretty much every day on the phone, at least once.
So he needed some credit, and you said you'd give him credit on your card.
He said one morning I talked to him from work, and he said he desperately needed a refrigerator, that he was getting skinny, and that his brother wouldn't loan him the money, and that it would be about $500. And I told him I didn't have the money, and I thought we could find one a lot cheaper than that, as I had paid $100 for mine, and that I would be willing to let him put it on a credit card that had no other money on it, so we could be clear. And he had told me he was going to pay it out of his tax return, and he didn't know why his brother wouldn't loan him the money.
Okay. To make a long story short, because
Sure.
Mr. Swan is going to tell me what his defense is, he ran up bills on the credit card totaling $1,500.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And he does not dispute that.
No.
Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
But this is your defense, that you had an agreement with her. And your agreement was that as long as you maintained the payments on the credit card, that she would keep it open.
Absolutely.
But that there came a point when you took out a significant amount of money. How much, $1,100?
Yeah.
And that after you took out that amount of money, she closed the credit card down.
Yes.
So your defense is that she breached the agreement
Yes.
by canceling the credit card, and therefore you do not owe her this money. That's what your defense is.
Something to that effect.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Well, why don't you tell me what I got wrong?
Well,
Why don't you?
not that I don't necessarily owe, but the fact that she breached our contract with reference to me keeping the payments paid that I shouldn't have to pay, because she cut it off basically out of spite because I wouldn't have sex with her.
That's not true, of course.
She
Yeah.
begged me for sex, Your Honor.
What is that?
Literally.
Mr.
And
Swan.
I just, you know.
Mr. Swan, you're not that attractive, sir.
Thank you.
What does this have to do about owing?
She
her
thought so.
Order.
Well, sometimes love is blind. Mr. Swan, you're not serious with me, are you? You're not trying to tell this to me with a straight face that you don't owe the money that you took out on her credit card because she breached the agreement when she cut off your credit.
I never said I didn't owe it.
You
I
sure
never-
you said, as far as I'm concerned, she broke the agreement, and I have no intention of giving her a dime.
That's what I said. But I
That's
didn't
what you
say I
said
didn't
right
know
here
her.
in your answer.
Yeah, but I didn't
Good.
say I didn't know
You
her.
owe $1,500 judgment for the plaintiff. That's right.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy,
And she was in high demand because she was a natural blonde and had natural big breasts.
I'm sure if I chose to pursue that career instead of a research scientist, I would be in high demand, yes. I hope to see him in jail.
Hope springs eternal.
precious photos and memorabilia of his son.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Yeah, this is case number 292 on the calendar in the matter of Burge versus Burge. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
Mr. Burge, you claim that your soon-to-be ex-wife, who was the defendant in this case, destroyed or threw away some irreplaceable memorabilia of yours after you were out of the house. You place a dollar value on that memorabilia at $5,000. She says that you were an abusive drunk who hit her, left the house, disappeared for months. She had no idea where you were, and ultimately got fed up with storing this stuff and just got rid of it. Correct?
That is correct.
So, how long were you married to each other, actually living together?
On and off for close to 3 years, give or take. We were only married right at 4 months, though, when I left.
And I gather you were living with the defendant's father.
That is correct.
All right, so tell me about your departure from the house.
The evening that I left, I was quite intoxicated, if you'll bear with me. This is the first time I've seen Michelle since the evening that I've left, and I still haven't really gotten over her, but the night that I left, I did become intoxicated. I went back to her father's mobile home, whereas we had another argument, and I was intoxicated enough that I don't recall whether or not she hit me and knocked me down or she shoved me and knocked me down. At that time, I got up, I slapped her, and I left, and I never went back. That was my understanding with her. I had told her if I ever raised my hand to her that I would leave. And that was the only time, Your Honor, that I had ever raised my hand to her.
So you left.
Yes, ma'am.
And how long were you gone before you made a request for this property that you say you left behind?
It was about 2 months.
And how did you make that request for the property?
By telephone originally?
Talking directly to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what property did you leave behind, sir?
I left my clothing, camping equipment, fishing equipment, some tools, an awful lot of books, memorabilia, my son's photographs from when he was a child, and I requested if I paid UPS prepaid, would she box these items up and send them to me? And at that time, I never really got a response from her.
Well, did she tell you that she had already disposed of all the stuff?
Not at that particular time, no.
Where were you for those 2 months, sir?
I was working, living in a little town called Antioch. I was living with my sister, and I was working, pumping gas.
Why didn't you call the very next week and make arrangements to pick up your stuff?
The emotional situation is that I had been fairly mentally abused by her on a number of occasions. As a matter of fact, there were times that I spent as many days in my van living there. This is my secure area. After an argument, you have to excuse me.
Do you have a drinking problem, Mr. Burge?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Has it been a long-standing problem with alcohol?
Yes, ma'am. Although this was one of the reasons I believe that Michelle had asked me to move in with her father. He also has a drinking problem, and he needed a drinking buddy.
Were you drinking all during the 3-year relationship with Michelle?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Michelle,
Yes.
why don't you first tell me your version of what happened on the night that your husband left?
He was supposed to meet me that evening, and we were going, my son and him and I were going to go to MGM Adventure Park. He never came home. He never showed or called. And so when I returned from the park, because I went ahead and went, I found him at a casino in town, saw his van parked in the garage, and I went in and we looked for him, my son and I both. He wasn't there. So we went on home, and there he sat on the ground, very intoxicated, and laughing. And I said, thanks a lot for showing up for us. And I did push him on the shoulder, and he fell back. But I proceeded to walk down the hall and out, and he came after me, and he hit me with a fist, closed fist, like a man would hit a man. And it spun my head around. And I couldn't close my jaw for 7 days thereafter. At that point, we called the police. I was yelling, Dad, he's hitting me. Help me. He came out of the bedroom, and the police were called. At this point, Glenn tried to take my car and leave because his van was obviously still parked at the casino. And I pulled him out of the car. And I recovered my car. At that point, he walked down the street, got a neighbor to take him back to his van at the casino, and I never saw him again or heard from him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I even went into rehab for 3 days.
But didn't work.
Well, after being out of rehab for 3 or 4 days, Michelle would make me a cocktail.
And later today,
I wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for you, Susie. And every time I do something for you, this is the way I get it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 52-year-old engineer Glenn Burge is suing his soon-to-be ex-wife Michelle, claiming she threw away precious photos and memorabilia of his son.
What had you done with all of his belongings?
Put him in an unlocked shed outside of our mobile home, which meant he had access at any time, day or night.
Ultimately, what did you do with them?
We left him there for which I have receipts from the Salvation Army until March 6th of '97.
And then they came and took all the stuff?
Yes.
What about his pictures and that sort of stuff?
They took it all. It was thrown in garbage bags and boxes and kind of...
And it had been 3 months that you hadn't heard from him, according to you?
Not at all. I contacted his aunts and uncles, which I had his address book, so I went through it and found some. Took a chance that he might be, and he was. He had been there. And so they kind of directed me to an address and a phone number.
So who called him? Did you call him?
Yes.
And what did you say when you called him?
I didn't reach him. I reached the relatives. Yes, Glenn was here. He stayed a few days and left.
So you never really reached him?
No, but he got the message, so he called back.
And when he called you, you still had the property?
Yes, we did.
So what was the conversation?
It was, hi, how are you doing? I can't live in Las Vegas anymore. The drinking's too available, and I would like you to come live here with me. And I don't really remember if the property really was mentioned at that time.
But then there came a time when you did call Salvation Army.
Yes.
Now, how much time passed between this first conversation that you had with him and the time that you actually disposed of the property?
Approximately 1 month later.
And why did you dispose of it at that time?
Because I received a letter from Glenn saying that he would be there on a Saturday and pick up his things. And I agreed, fine, we'll meet you here Saturday, and he never showed.
Do you have that letter?
No, that was no, I don't.
Do you remember writing a letter to her?
No, ma'am, there was never a letter written.
My father remembers this, Your Honor.
I believe you.
Okay.
I believe that maybe you don't remember, sir. Mrs. Burge, I gather from your husband that you knew that he had a drinking problem at the time that you married him, because you were together for 3 years before you married him.
Yes, I did.
Why would you
I
do that?
didn't know it was to that extent at that point.
But you knew he had a drinking problem.
Yes, and he had said he was going to work on that, and I had hoped he would.
You know, I get the sense from looking at both of you and from listening to you, sir, that you still have some very strong feelings for her.
Yes, I do. I did since the first day that I ever met the lady.
And I also have a sense that but for his drinking problem, you feel strongly about him.
We did. We had a very, very close relationship, and it was good when. It was good when it was.
It was good when it was good.
Good. Yes.
Mr. Burge, what have you done, if anything, to deal with this problem that you have?
I haven't had a drink, Your Honor, in almost 3 months. During the course, if I may add, during the course of our relationship, towards the ending of it, I even went into rehab for 3 days.
But it didn't work.
Well, after being out of rehab for 3 or 4 days, Michelle would make me a cocktail.
You have to understand, Miss Burge, the nature of the illness. You know,
Yes.
you can't treat it as if it's a thing that you can turn on and turn off. Sometimes you don't understand that. You believe that he hasn't had a drink? Looks pretty straight to me.
It's possible.
If he did enter a period of sobriety in his life, would you be interested in trying to save your marriage?
I'm not certain because he did hit me, and it wasn't the first time. He had tried to hit me before, but he
Well, that was
wasn't
only when he was
successful.
drunk?
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm saying to you. I mean, nobody should live in an abusive kind of relationship.
No. Yeah.
But he did leave.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, because I think he felt terrible that he did that.
And the police were on the way.
He probably was too drunk to even understand that.
Think so?
Mr. Burge, your lawsuit is a relatively simple one, sir. She doesn't have to store your property. She hadn't heard from you for many months. I do believe that you did make arrangements to go and pick up the property, and that she didn't show up, and she got fed up and ultimately said, just get the stuff and any recollection of this man out of my life, because I don't want to deal with him anymore.
If I may, I also have phone records stating, or actually physically showing, that I have been in contact with her since December, January, February. And
She says that. She says that you had
right.
him.
And in February, I'd also sent her a dozen long stem roses to her job. I was trying to keep this relationship going as long as I could possibly because of the feelings.
Then you wouldn't want to be punitive, Mr. Burge.
Right.
And you did, in fact, hit her, and I believe that you hit her. Whether you realized it at the time or not, it was more than a slap. So you're going to have to live with the fact that because you have a drinking problem, you did certain things that were really the antithesis of good behavior for any human being to another.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I certainly get the sense from the two of you that neither one of you is prepared to totally throw in the towel. Maybe you can ditch Dad for an hour and go out and have a cup of coffee.
And later today,
You using me is over with. It's
Okay.
over with.
Okay, no problem.
That's it, Susie. That's it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Glenn Burge wants his estranged wife, Michelle, to pay for the loss of photos and memorabilia of his son. Michelle says she held on to his belongings for 6 months.
I don't think she's a bad person, sir.
She's not.
Okay. So then we really shouldn't be here today, other than perhaps for you to see her, because you said it's the first time that you've seen her since you left.
Yes, ma'am.
I certainly get the sense from the two of you that neither one of you is prepared to totally throw in the towel. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Pardon me, sir. Maybe you can ditch Dad for an hour and go out and have a cup of coffee or breakfast and just talk. Is that a possibility?
If she's willing.
You willing?
I don't know, Your Honor.
Well, you see about it, Miss Burge. If your husband who I clearly believe you have some feelings for, still. No or yes?
No, I would say no.
Really? Okay.
Yes. Just too much has happened.
I can understand that. I can understand that. Mr. Burge, you may have to try a little harder, sir. She's vacillating a little bit, so you may have to try. Maybe 3 months isn't enough. In any event, I'm not entertaining a claim for $5,000, sir. I am dismissing your lawsuit. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Bishop versus Baum. Step forward, please.
35-year-old Lori Bishop is suing her former girlfriend, Ingeborg Baum, for the cost of a parking ticket. Ingeborg says it's not her fault she got the ticket and refuses to pay for it.
This was your friend. She asked you to do her a favor and drive her downtown because your daughter was in jail?
Yeah.
And you didn't have a car?
No.
So you did her a favor, drove her downtown, parked your car where you shouldn't have.
Well, not really where I shouldn't have. We parked the car. We stayed there. We tried to find out where Renati was going to be. And
Renati is your daughter?
Yes.
Find out how long it was going to be before she got released. Well, we'd been there probably about 3 hours, and we got back to the car, and Susie says, "What is that on your windshield?" And I says, "It can't be a ticket because I can park here. I parked here before. I know we can park here." So we went and got something to eat. We came back, and we parked across where in this little complex. And it said, "No parking, towaway zone." I'm like, I don't feel good about this. So all we had, when we started our trip out, I told her that I'd pay for the gas. I mean, she has to pay for the gas, but I'd give her the ride. So we got to the gas station, and her ATM card wouldn't work. So I put $20 in my car, and then I got $20 for us to eat because we weren't sure how long it was going to be for us, before we got back.
You parked your car where you shouldn't have parked your car, Miss Bishop.
Right. Well, I did. Well, it was sure. the sign said parking this way, no parking this way, right there.
What is that? Just a second. What does that have to do with her?
Well, I wouldn't have been there if it wouldn't have been for her.
That's what she keeps saying, and
I wouldn't have been there. I did her a favor. I've done a lot for this lady.
Miss Bishop, listen to me. Your argument is that, but for the fact that you were doing her a favor, you wouldn't have had your car down in that location, and you wouldn't have gotten a ticket.
Right.
And therefore, she is responsible for the ticket.
Right.
Let's say you were driving with her to pick up her daughter, and you were speeding.
Right.
And you got a speed. Just a second. And you got a speeding ticket. Who would be responsible for that?
No, it wouldn't be.
Who would be responsible?
I would be.
Because you did the wrong thing.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, you try to explain to me how it's different parking where you weren't supposed to be parking, and speeding.
Well, because she didn't have the money to pay where we could park, where it wasn't going to cost us any money. I mean, where it wasn't going to cause me any harm. She didn't have the money. She didn't have any money when we went.
But then when you parked there under the tunnel, I asked you, can you park here?
Right, and I could because I did before.
So I asked you.
Just a second. So you said you've parked there before and you didn't get a ticket.
Right.
This time you did.
Right.
Pay it.
Okay. Well, what about the money that I took $40 to eat on for the parking, to finally pay the $5 for the parking and stuff. What about that?
Just a second.
I mean, when I called up her one day,
I think she's responsible for those out-of-pocket expenses. The gas, right?
Yeah.
You've paid $5 to park the car after you moved the car when you got a ticket? Were you with her when she moved the car?
Yes.
And she paid $5 for that?
Yes.
You think you're responsible for that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with you. That's $25. And if you think that you were wrongfully given a ticket,
right,
then you have to go argue that to the Parking Violations Bureau. You go before a hearing examiner and tell them your story. But you parked your car in the wrong place. You got a ticket.
Right.
You have to pay for it.
Well, okay.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $25.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
That's not right, Susie. That's not right. Okay? I wouldn't have been there. I wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for you, Susie. And time I do something for you, this is the way I get it. I mean, what about the $100? I had to get it from her.
Gas, I do.
Yeah, pay for the gas. What about everything else, Susie? So I'm just stuck with a ticket. Well, I have nothing to say to you after this point. Even though I was upfront enough and took my whole day away to take you down there, you can't help me out by paying half the ticket? Yeah, walk off, Susie. Just walk off.
Judge, number 230 on the calendar in the matter of Garrett versus Bradford Ullman. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Miss Garrett, this is your granddaughter.
That's correct.
Your name is Bradford?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're her boyfriend?
Yes.
You live together?
Yes.
And you have 2 children?
3.
3 children, but they're not your children?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Garrett, you're suing your granddaughter and her boyfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you rented them a house.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did.
And you say that A, they did not pay rent.
That's correct.
B, they vandalized your house.
Yes.
And they took property that was yours from the house.
Absolutely.
When did you and why did you rent this house to them?
Well, Misty lived there prior for a year, approximately, prior to a year of her mom moving out.
So originally her mother lived there and she lived with her mother and her 3 children.
Exactly. And then the mother moved out and Misty...
That's your daughter?
My daughter. Misty didn't have any place to go, nor the money to go anyplace else. So I told her I would rent her my house, and I did.
What was the monthly rental?
$466. That covers my mortgage payment.
Now, you admit, Miss Ullman, that you did not make one rental payment.
Yes.
And that's after you say you were served with an eviction notice from your grandmother.
Yes.
So you admit that you owe her that money.
Yes, I do.
There came a time when you decided to evict her.
Yes.
Can you tell me why?
Well, for one thing, they were not paying the rent, which I needed. I'm on a fixed income. I needed the rent money to cover my own expenses. I have enough to take care of my own personal needs, but not that of Misty, her boyfriends, or her children. So I needed the money for that. And the eviction started over the payment. There was also other problems involved during the eviction.
Like what?
Over the children.
What?
I heard verbal abuse from Mr. Bradford with the 3 children. I was very much concerned about that. They were going to ship the young boy off to Alaska to a father that he hardly knew, to people that did not know him. And I was very upset.
Her oldest child they were going to send to the father's house?
In Alaska, because he was causing problems. He does have a behavioral problem. But to me, you don't have throwaway children.
How close do you live to them?
I lived about 60 feet in a studio apartment that's on the same property as my big house.
Before you served them with an eviction notice, did you tell them that you wanted them to move out?
Yes, I did.
Are you sure?
I sent them a letter asking them to come to me to work out a payment plan for the rents owed.
How many months' rent did they owe you by the time they left?
She stayed there. They stayed there. May I have a drink of water?
Please.
They stayed there for 3 months. They paid me a total of $580.
Do you have proof of payment of more than $580?
No, I do not. I used money orders, and I gave the money orders to my grandma, and then she went to the bank and made the payment.
She says that you gave her a total of $580 during the 3 months that you were living there.
We were there for 3 months, and I did pay the first 2 months. The 3rd month I did not pay.
She says that one of the reasons she started eviction proceedings is because you weren't paying her.
No, that is not true. And
well, then do you have the receipts to show me 2 payments of $466 each?
No, Your Honor, I do not.
And are you saying that the total they paid you was $580?
That's correct.
And she's also claiming that we owe, or that the rent was $466, which the mortgage payment and the insurance together is, but I was only responsible for $290 of it.
Why?
I didn't pay the insurance. That was not our agreement.
Just a second. Maybe when your mother was living there, it was split differently, but what was your mortgage payment?
$466.02, in fact.
You have proof of that?
Yes,
Shirley?
I do.
Can I see it, please?
Your Honor, actually the payments were $290 as they were when the mother lived there.
No. No. Who said so?
That's exactly how much they were.
She says that you had an understanding that you were going to pay whatever amount it was to cover her mortgage payment.
She's claiming $466, I believe, but that's not true, Your Honor.
Well, I want to see whether it's $466. She's going to show me.
The mortgage may, with the insurance may indeed be that, but that doesn't mean that was the agreement to pay that.
Well, why should why should she subsidize you? Where can you find a house for $466?
Well, I don't think that's the issue.
No, just a second. Where can you find a house for $466?
You can find them in Fresno. They're available. The people can scoff if they want that you're in Los Angeles. In Fresno, it's not uncommon to find a house for $450. It may not be palatial, but it'll be something that you can live in. And
Well, was this a nice house?
Yeah, it is. It is a nice house. It's an older house, 70 or 80 years old, and it's very large.
Well, $466 doesn't seem to me outrageous. Sir, do you work?
Ma'am.
Do you work?
Do I work?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
Well, I just got a job as a production supervisor with a poultry company.
What were you doing during the time that you were living with Miss Oman in her grandmother's house?
Well, you mean, was I seeking employment or was I working?
No, were you working?
No, at that time I wasn't working. I was seeking employment.
Well, who was supporting you?
I received unemployment.
How much?
$400 a month.
And were you working?
No.
Why not?
Well, I have a few things that I'm a recovering addict, alcoholic, and during that time I've been seeking therapy and help for myself and for my kids, and that...
Well, you certainly weren't living on $400 a month that he was getting from unemployment insurance, so you must have been subsidized by the state in some way. Is that right?
Yes.
So you were receiving welfare?
Yes.
How much?
A total of $620 a month.
So you were receiving $620 and he was getting $400. That's $1,000 some odd a month, more than enough to pay Grandma's mortgage.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
While she was involved with drugs, involved with alcohol, she had 2 more illegitimate children with 2 other men. Now, Mr. Bradford, you can understand why her grandmother was slightly frustrated.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lavelle Garrett claims her granddaughter, Misty Oman, and Misty's boyfriend, Tom Bradford, did not pay rent, stole, and damaged her property. Misty says her grandmother is trying to control her.
Now, let's get beyond the mortgage. Let's get to this vandalism. You have photographs of the house?
Yes, I do. It's under the green tag there that you have. I also have the color ones for you if you would like. Those are copies.
I'd like to see the originals, please. One of the things, Miss Garrett, that I'm sort of surprised at, well, I'm not faulting you because, you know, you came prepared for this lawsuit, but that you took such care to prepare this lawsuit when your granddaughter was involved. So my sense is that there's something more to this than just this property damage. Did you have a fight with her about sending this young boy to Alaska?
Yes, I did.
When did you have that fight with her?
It was after the eviction.
No, Your Honor, that's not true. It was prior to the eviction.
Okay, I couldn't be mistaken about that, Your Honor. I'm not sure. I mean, there's been an ongoing argument about this child for a long time because of my concern for his welfare.
Did you ever ask your granddaughter if your grandson could come and live with you?
He did live with me for 1 year. He was in my custody for 1 year. At this time, as we speak, he is living with my daughter.
With his maternal grandmother?
Right.
Is that through the state?
No.
By agreement?
By agreement between Mr. Bradford and Miss Oman.
Well, what does he have to do with it?
You tell me.
Nothing is the answer. I'd like you to look at some of these photographs and tell me whether any of this looks familiar to you.
I'd also like to add, Your Honor, this is a very sad day for me to have my granddaughter in court. I have loved this young lady for 24 years, and this is very, very sad for me to have her in court. But I've had it. I'm up to here with her, the men she's been dragging in and out of her children's life.
Your Honor, I'm trying to be polite and be reserved and be respectful of the court. And, you know, I'm just going to take a chance here and speak out. You know, I'm a good human being. I'm not going to be ashamed of the fact that I'm in between jobs. Many people in America are in between jobs right now. And it's nothing to laugh at or to be ashamed of. And I met Misty some months ago, in March, in fact, and we developed a relationship. And we had a good relationship. In fact, her suitor, Bob Magretta, hired me to do a number of odd jobs for him while I was in between jobs. And in fact, after the eviction, offered me work and offered us a place to stay in one of his apartments that he rents. And we have a letter here stating that, saying you can come and live in one of my apartments and you can continue to have your job. We're not bad people. And I love her children and I love her. And we're planning to have a future together.
Mr. Bradford, let me stop you, sir. I don't doubt certain of the things that you said to me. You don't fall in love with children after 6 months.
I didn't say I fell in love.
Just a second. You said
I love the children.
You say you love her and you love her children. You don't
Yes,
love
I do.
her children. You don't love her children. You may tolerate 2 of them, certainly. You didn't love the third one. The third one was being sent away thousands of miles away from his siblings because clearly he was not thriving in your home, and he was probably, in all probability, you don't send a child away unless they are particularly troublesome.
He was going for a 4-week vacation, Your Honor, to see the father who she summons down to help with the child within the last few years. If you ask her, she'll tell you.
Just a second. That's not what it says in the answer.
When the doctors at the psychiatric facility recommended that we allow him to try to work out some of the unresolved issues by visiting with his dad.
What do you, Mr. Bradford, what do you think the unresolved issues are, sir?
Well, I'm not a professional in the psychiatric field, but
So you're not a professional, and you've been in this family for 6 months. You've been involved with these 3 children for 6 months. You have 3 children. Were you married once or more than once?
Once.
Once. And the father is, the person who lives in Alaska is the father of all 3 of your children?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. How many children is he the father of?
1.
1. And the other 2 children, do they have the same father?
No, Your Honor.
So I want you to listen to me very carefully, Mr. Bradford. What she said is she's had it up to here with the men that her granddaughter has brought into the lives of her grandchildren. And right now, very simple. I mean, just on its face, Misty acknowledges she had a substance abuse problem. Hopefully she's in recovery. But the bottom line is she has 3 children by 3 different men, only one of whom she was married to. She has a little boy who was clearly suffering as a result of his mother's addiction. She was, in all probability, neglectful of the children while she was involved with drugs. That's clear. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out. While she was involved with drugs, involved with alcohol, she had 2 more illegitimate children with 2 other men. Now, Mr. Bradford, you can understand why her grandmother, who has probably been around for all of these tragedies that have gone on for her grandchildren, is slightly frustrated. Well, so don't tell me, sir, that we're good people and I love all these 3 children, because this lady has heard that before.
Well,
you have to understand the frustration.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Am I guessing at the fact that each of her 3 children have 3 different fathers?
No,
not
you're
guessing at that. And I'm not guessing at the fact, sir, that you don't know one thing that went on in this family from your own personal knowledge for the last 10 years.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Airline technician Lavelle Garrett says her granddaughter, Misty Ullman, and her boyfriend, Tom Bradford, owe her for back rent and damaged property. Misty says it all started when she sent her son away.
Now all I want you to do is look at those photographs and you tell me whether any of that damage to her property looks familiar. Just look at it.
There are some things that I am responsible for, but
like
some
what?
of this, for example, the broken portable closet, no. This screen.
What are you responsible for?
The screen right here, the cat potty.
The what?
The feces, the cat feces that they left in my bathroom floor, plus cat litter in my kitchen with cigarette butts and cat feces in it. The pictures are all here.
You're not suing for that much money. Right now, you're almost to the amount of money from back
I mean,
rent.
this coffee cup right here that's broken on the porch, somebody threw that at the window. And I asked...
Keep going.
Your Honor?
What?
The doorbell was removed because he took it down. It didn't work. He took it down. He was going to repair it. Grandma said that she didn't have the money to repair it, so we just left it on top of the refrigerator. This stuff is all just a mess from moving.
Just a minute. What do you mean it's a mess from moving? Why did you leave a mess when you moved?
We were moving, so we had
Who was
stuff
supposed to clean it
scattered.
up?
No,
Missy, who was supposed to clean it up? Did you come back and clean up your mess after
yes,
you moved?
This stuff we took with us.
I'm talking about the mess after you left. Cat litter, cigarette butts in the cat litter, dirt all over the place. Did you come back and clean that up?
No, my grandmother did not want me to come back to clean it up.
Did you? You mean you called your grandmother and said, I left the house a mess, I want to come back just for a day just to clean up the mess?
No, my grandmother made it very clear, do not come back.
The sheriffs escorted her out, and when she forgot one or two items inside the place in her, hasty exodus from the residence, they wouldn't even let her back in to get those items, okay? And so, when a sheriff's there and the kids are all on the porch crying, and she's trying to get her stuff and get out. I'm not making her out to be an angel, but she's a good person, Your Honor, and I love her. And you see her sister over there crying, and I'll tell you why she's crying. Because you're making her out to, you're guessing, and I respect your position.
I'm not guessing, Mr.
No, that's
Greco.
exactly what you're doing.
Listen,
That's exactly
I'm not
what you're
guessing,
doing.
sir. Am I guessing at the fact that Miss Ullman has 3 children? Am I guessing?
That part you're not.
Am I guessing at the fact that each of her 3 children have 3 different fathers?
No,
not
you're
guessing
not.
at that. I'm not guessing at the fact that she was addicted to drugs and alcohol. I'm not guessing at that.
No, ma'am, you're not.
I'm not guessing at the fact that you've been involved in this family for less than a year. I'm not guessing at that.
No, you're not.
And I'm not guessing at the fact, sir, that you don't know one thing that went on in this family from your own personal knowledge for the last 10 years.
Well,
you don't
sure
know
I
that.
do.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Garrett, listen to me. Don't rent them an apartment anymore. I don't know if he's going to be long-term or short-term, whether he's going to be as long-term as the other 3 guys that were in your granddaughter's life. I haven't a clue. You've sued for very little money, slightly over $1,100. They owe you at least $800 in rent. That's your lawsuit. $1,184 is what your lawsuit was for. There is, based upon what I've seen, the mess alone in that apartment, as far as I'm concerned, takes at least $300 to clean up that kind of disaster. So, you tell me that this was a painful thing for you to do.
Yes, it is.
I not only think it's painful, I'm not so sure that I would have done it. I would have just said, from now on, I'm not going to bail my granddaughter out, and I would have eaten the $1,100. You chose not to do that, and I can't fault you for not saying, I'm going to chalk it up and write, from now on, they're on their own. It's sad that you brought her to court. She owes you the money. She owes you the money for rent, and she owes you the money for cleaning up the mess that she and her boyfriend left in your house. Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100. That's it, Miss Garrett. That's all. Thank you.
All right, excuse, you may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I love my granddaughter very much. I went through a lot of hell with my granddaughter. I've always been there for her. But this time I have had it.
This is being there for her?
Can you please shut him up?
I mean, is this being there for your granddaughter? To humiliate her?
He's been in this family for 3 months. He's totally destroyed it.
You're such a wonderful parent. Why would she have been addicted to drugs? I'll stand by her. I'll be with her for some time to come. And I can tell you who won't be. These 2 people right here. Mark my words. You're here to prove that we've destroyed all this, that I'm a prisoner.
You.
Go ahead, walk away.
Now she's suing Foster's son, Dustin, for bills he ran up on her Sears credit card.
Order, all rise. All rise, please. Quiet in the courtroom. Judge, this is number 132 on the calendar in the matter of Trevino versus Reeder. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Miss Trevino.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Reeder.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Reeder Sr. Step up here. Ms. Trevino, according to your complaint, you and Mr. Reeder Sr. were living together, correct?
No.
He wasn't living with you?
He stayed with me for a month.
Stayed with you. I paid the rent.
Just a second. He stayed with you for a month. This is his son.
Yes, ma'am.
He also stayed with you.
Yes, ma'am.
And while they were staying with you, you let Junior use your Sears credit card.
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Well, we were good friends, and he was just starting a job, and there was stuff that he needed, like tool chests and stuff, and he promised to pay me back when he started working and started getting an income, and I trusted him. He's a nice kid. But now that Senior and I are no longer seeing each other, he doesn't want to pay me.
Why didn't you ask your father for money?
Because I like Sears tools.
'Cause what?
I like the tools that Sears put out.
So?
She had a Sears charge card.
Go ahead, sir. Maybe you can answer for him.
Actually, what happened, Your Honor, when we got together, and we were there a lot longer than any 2 months.
Well, first it was a month, now you say it was longer than 2 months.
It was a lot longer. The relationship went on for about 1.5 years. Mrs. Trevino's credit card was not being able to be used at the time, and I paid it up. Brought it current. The Sears credit card, I paid up the Sears credit card where it could be used. I paid up her Visa credit card, which they never let her use it. Okay, at that time, my son could have asked me for the money, but I didn't even know they were going out and buying the tools. She took him to Sears and started on her own while we were still together. And as we were living together for quite some time, over a month, things went on between them. He could have gotten the money from me if he'd have asked me for it.
Well, that's what I want to know. Why didn't you ask your father to borrow the money for your tools rather than asking Miss Trevino?
Because she had a charge card for there.
But he had the money.
I never came up to ask him for that, Your Honor.
All right, so now you used the credit card. How much did you charge on her credit card?
About $1,100, Your Honor, or so.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much did you pay back?
$1108.45.
You have proof of that for me?
Your Honor, what I have is my check register.
And what does it say in it?
That I have made payments. I have 9 checks totaling the amount of $508.45.
Is that made directly to Sears?
Sears and Mrs. Trevino.
Let me see it. Do you deny that he gave you these checks, madam? He's got them in his book.
He gave me checks for the rent when he was living there.
Some of this, how much rent?
He was paying $200 a month.
There were charges here for $32.45, $38, $75, $63.
For what?
I don't know, it says to Sandra Trevino. Let me see your Sears bill, please. Was she charging you rent?
I paid her rent on my own will, and I never wrote her a check for rent. I just given her cash.
What do you mean you gave it of your own will, sir?
I was told I didn't have to pay rent, but I paid her anyway.
That's not true.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I was the one paying the rent at the time.
That's not true.
Out of my own money. That's why he didn't have to pay rent.
He said he was giving her cash.
He did give her money, but like I said, it was because he wanted to.
So you say, sir, that you repaid her $508 by check, and this is for the tools that you bought on the Sears card. Is that right?
Yes.
But you also say you paid her cash.
Yes.
Twice.
Yes.
How are you going to prove that to me?
What? Ma'am, I have no... we were friends at the time. I didn't think I needed a receipt for that.
Well, but you paid most of the money by check. Why would you pay $600 of it in cash?
Well, because I would go cash my check, and I'd just give her the cash instead of the check.
Why did you give her some checks? All of them were under $100. And then what you opted to give her in cash, you gave her in two $300 payments. That doesn't sound logical to me, sir.
Well, at the time, I had the cash on me. And the only reason why I didn't get a receipt was because I was living with her. She was seeing my father.
Did he ever give you cash?
No, ma'am.
He did not?
No, ma'am.
Okay, return this to him. Yes.
He did give her cash, Your Honor.
No,
And I've given her a lot of cash even since that.
No, I believe...
A couple of times I didn't ask for receipts. Then at the very last, she started writing me receipts. I didn't bring them with me, but she did write me some receipts.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She stole her car out of a shopping center before Christmas, and I got blamed for the car.
This is getting fascinating.
And later today,
I did see a cat, and I saw them, running after the cat, and I did see a cat.
I'm not sure I believe that you saw a cat.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandra Trevino says 26-year-old tow truck operator Dustin Reeder used her credit card and didn't repay her. Dustin says he paid her back in cash.
Miss Trevino, why are you suing him now?
Because they were going through some bad times, and he didn't have any money. He went to jail for a couple months. The kids were trying to run the business, and they weren't making ends meet. And I was actually helping them keep the business going while he was. And
what kind of business?
Towing business.
Automobile towing?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you incarcerated for a period of time, sir?
Yes, I was.
For how long?
I was actually in jail for 45 days.
For what?
Because she had stole her car and I got blamed for it.
You're a lying sack.
That's right. She stole her car out of a shopping center before Christmas, and I got blamed for the car, and I didn't involve her in it. I took the heat because my lawyer advised me to take the heat, so I took it.
Explain. No, this is getting fascinating. This is much.
Hey, it's the truth. You can check it out with the courts.
Well, you can't check it out with the courts. If you pled guilty, sir, and served 45 days, then you pled guilty to something. Explain to me, she stole a car.
That's right.
Out of a parking lot.
That's right.
How did you get involved with it?
Well, when I first met Mrs. Trevino,
He tried selling it to cop.
She didn't have a car. She had problems with her car. I gave her the money to go out and put a down payment on a new car. When we started squabbling, she couldn't make the payments. So then she decided, it was insured, she decided that she would take it and collect the insurance off of it, which she did.
You're a pathological liar.
What do you, just a second.
The car.
Pathological.
You didn't collect insurance?
Miss Trevino, shh. Go ahead.
The car.
So she reported the car stolen.
That's right.
Ah, it's coming together. She reported the car stolen, and then the plan was for her to go out and sell the car once she got the insurance money for it. Is that right? Am I right?
You're close.
Well, tell me where I'm off. Tell me where I'm off.
Anyway, as it turned out, I got caught with the car.
How did you get caught with the car?
Because somebody had did some work on it, brought it back.
You mean did some work on it to sort of
Change the VIN numbers. Change the VIN numbers. Brought it back. I got caught with it. Okay? And like I said, at that time, I never brought it up. I never one time said anything about it to the law or anything. I just went to jail for it.
Well, you knew that there was you knew the scenario, so you weren't blameless, sir, right?
I was partly blamed because I got caught with it.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I drive a tow truck.
Your father's tow truck?
Yes.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. These tools that you bought from Sears, what did you need them for?
I like to work on cars.
Sounds to me, with the exception of this young man, these people all deserve each other. Well, I'm going to give you credit, sir, for the following. I believe that you gave her checks towards the Sears bill of $1,100 and the amount of $500, leaving a total of $600 left. Now, I want you to look in my eyes and tell me whether you gave her an additional $600 in cash.
Yes, ma'am, I did. In 2 installments.
Hmm?
I have given her $600 in cash for the tool bill.
For the tools.
Yes, on the
You gave
service
her
charge.
extra money for rent
Yes, I was paying her $200 a month for rent.
in addition to the tools. Is that right?
Yes, every month I stayed there, I gave her $200 a month.
Ms. Trevino, I believe him. This young man, I believe. I don't know if I believe either of you two people, but I believe him that he paid you. This lawsuit is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Pathological liars. They're known liars. That's all they do is lie.
And now the next case.
Parties on Brown versus Silberg. Step forward.
32-year-old retail manager Paul Brown is suing his building manager, Greg Silberg, 52, because his dog fell off the roof when a cat frightened it.
Mr. Silberg, are you the owner of this building in question?
No,
or are you
I'm
the
the owner of the management company.
Okay. And this is a 3-story building.
Correct.
You, sir, live in that building?
Yes.
And how long have you lived there?
I lived there approximately about 9 months.
And you have a dog?
Yes.
That dog?
I have 2 dogs.
But that's the dog in question?
Correct.
You were going into your building?
Actually, I was going to walk my dog on the, and I was going to visit a friend on the 3rd floor. And
In the building?
In the building.
And your dog did not have a leash on?
They both had leashes on them. I took them in the elevator, walked up to the 3rd floor. I went to knock on my friend's door on the 3rd floor, which is right around the corner from the sun deck. And I had both dogs in one hand, on my left hand. And they saw a cat. This is late at night, about 10:30 at night. They saw a cat. They got loose. As I was running up the stairs, the dogs already were up on the patio or the sun deck, and that one fell. He was down below, and that was it. I mean...
Just a second. Did you see the cat, sir?
Look
at me.
Yes.
Did you see a cat?
Yes, I did. I saw a cat.
Late at night.
That's how they darted out of my hand.
Late at night, you're ringing a bell.
Knocking on the door, correct.
Knocking at a door, right? Like this.
Correct.
Where was the cat?
The cat was to the left, going up to the sun deck.
I'm not sure I believe that you saw a cat. That's first. I do believe that your dog ran up to the sun deck. Fell off. Right?
Right.
And you're suing him for $5,000.
Correct.
Tell me why.
Well,
because that's the dog. The dog is here.
Right. First of all, I have pictures before and after, what the sun deck looked like before and after, and as well as the medical bills, which ranged into approximately about $1,400. And for my dog's a championship dog, and I was actually going to breed him. I have papers on him, and as well as I have the notice from the city of West Hollywood saying that that sun deck was not properly permitted, and if they had the proper railing on that sun deck, my dog would have never fell. And that's why I'm suing him for $5,000.
Mm-hmm. I'll see all of his pictures.
And this is the medical bill. And I also have a letter from the doctor stating the condition of the dog.
Who found the dog?
Phil found the dog. He was downstairs waiting for me.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Can I say something?
Do you feel as if you must, sir?
You've kind of said it all, to be honest.
Then why don't you just be quiet?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Paul Brown is suing building manager Greg Silberg because his dog fell off the roof. Mr. Silberg says the dog should have been on a leash.
Describe the dog when you found him.
Well, I was standing outside, and I heard the loud noise, him hitting the concrete. When I found him, he was unconscious, tongue hanging out of his mouth. He was bleeding from his mouth. I went and grabbed a towel, picked him up. He was stiff. I didn't even know if he was alive anymore. And then I found a pulse. I took him into the apartment, found a pulse, called the veterinary hospital, and we drove him immediately to the hospital. He was unconscious for a couple days.
Mm-hmm. When you found the dog that night, and I want you to think very carefully, sir, did the dog have a leash?
Yes.
How do you know that?
because I found the dog.
A couple of things. I don't understand how this dog got away from you if you were holding both dogs in your hand with the leash.
I had them both on one hand as I was knocking on the door of the third floor. And I did see a cat, and I saw them, you know, running after the cat, and I did see a cat. And he went off, the other dog, because I called them both,
Well, just a second.
both their names.
So what you're telling me is you had both dogs
In my left hand, correct.
in one hand.
Right.
And you couldn't control holding on to the leashes of both dogs.
No, because actually when they saw the cat...
Well, the cat's not his fault.
Okay, but the balcony's his fault.
Just a second. How?
He broke the law. The law, I mean, that balcony was not properly permitted. If that balcony was properly permitted, that dog would have never fell.
This is not a place that you didn't know about. You knew about this place. Now, I'm not saying he's not in some way responsible for not having it properly gated off. I looked at the gate that he put up there. Your dog can get through that gate.
Yeah, but if...
Just a second. If that's a proper gate that he put up afterwards, that little skinny dog can get through that gate and could have gotten through that gate that night. So could a cat.
Not running that fast.
What do you mean not running?
Not running. A dog cannot get through that gate. Those bars are approximately 4 inches apart. Now, if a dog's running at full speed, a dog cannot go through that gate.
You mean he'd have to stop and wiggle through?
He would have to stop.
Just a second.
He would realize that, no.
He would realize, the dog would realize.
He would realize that he would not be able to get through that gate going that fast. That's why the dog fell, because he was going so fast he didn't see the drop. That's why the dog fell. Now, if that gate was up there, the dog would have stopped.
This gate, sir, is not designed to keep out dogs and cats. It's designed to protect people. Dog and cat owners are responsible for taking care of their own pets.
Correct.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Just because there is an accident doesn't mean somebody has to pay you. That's not what the courts are about, sir. This is a people protector. And the fact that you suggest that a dog at full run couldn't go through there, that may be. Certainly, a cat can wiggle through here. Certainly, a small dog can get through here. The design
but not
of it...
at full speed.
I don't care whether it's full speed.
If the dog's chasing a cat...
You're never going to get through to him. Never going to get through to him, sir. Not every injury results in an award of money. You are responsible for keeping control of your dog.
And he's responsible for keeping the railing. I mean,
yes, sir, and I will tell you something else. If somebody chased you up on the roof that evening and you fell off the third floor because there was no adequate railing, you could sue him for a lot more than $5,000 because he is responsible, if you lived and if you could breed, because that's what you're complaining about. But because there was no bar or gate there, that's not the reason your dog fell. Your dog fell because you dropped the leash. And your dog went...
But I didn't drop the leash, Your Honor. The dogs got away from me. I didn't drop the leash.
Mr. Brown, sir.
Can I say something?
Do you feel as if you must, sir?
You've kind of said it all, to be honest.
Then why don't you just be quiet?
Okay.
This lawsuit is dismissed.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Well, obviously I'm delighted, and I just feel that Mr. Brown didn't take responsibility for his own action. First of all, the dog was there illegally. It wasn't allowed on his lease.
You don't even know what your own manager does there. Your manager knew the dogs are there. You're saying illegally now after 9, I've been there 9 months.
He doesn't want to take responsibility. All he wants to do is everybody's responsible. The dog fell on its head. So
do you feel you're not responsible for not having a proper sun deck up there?
Absolutely.
You're not responsible?
No, sir.
He broke the law. He should pay for it.
Using her Sears credit card and not repaying her, Rita is countersuing for the years that she supported Gracie.
Order. All rise. Quiet, please. Judge, this is number 349 on the calendar, the matter of Braun versus Holkeen. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats, please.
I've read these papers. Let me see if I understand this. Miss Braun, you lived with the defendant for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Lived in her home.
Yes.
You were friends or friends of one of her children. Is that right?
Yes.
How old were you when you moved into her house?
18.
And how many years did you live there?
Till April 21st of 1996.
And how old were you?
I was 20.
So you lived there for 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
And did you get married? Is that why you left?
Mm-hmm.
According to your papers, there was a time when you allowed the defendant to use your Sears credit card, I believe on 3 occasions, and the total bill was about $500. That's what you're suing her for?
Yes.
She's quite offended, right?
That's right.
Tell me why.
Well, because of the fact that, I opened my doors for her. She was my daughter's best friend. And so I just figured, and she was an 18, she was 17. I have proof because we had, at the time, we decided that she was going to live under our roof. We were going to give her medical and dental insurance to cover for her braces. I have the enrollment forms from my husband's state insurance.
So you covered her health insurance?
I covered her health insurance, her medical insurance. I paid for her homecoming prom dress that I have pictures of. I didn't ask for anything in return. And for her to have the audacity to come back at me for the $530-some. I did pay her back that. I did pay her in cash. I paid her. I never go without paying a debt. And I never thought that I'd have to have a receipt to carry with me to prove that I had paid her, because she would call me mother, she would call my husband dad. I loved her as a daughter, and she wasn't really anything to me. And the only reason that I feel that she did this is because of the fact that her mother-in-law was upset because I wouldn't come out and give her money for the wedding expenses when she got married.
So this, you believe, is really over money for her wedding?
Exactly.
Tell me about that.
Well, when back at the time that she was getting her wedding arrangements done, we were going to be getting a settlement. My mother was run over and killed back in '95, and I was waiting for a check to come in. And at the time, I was also on disability. I've had back surgery. And I had offered to help out with the wedding expenses, half of the wedding expenses.
That was very nice of you.
Yes, it was.
Why would you want to do that?
Because I loved her.
You have your own family?
Yes, I do.
You have children of your own?
Yes, I do. I have 2 children at home and a grandson and my husband.
And you volunteered to pay for part of the wedding?
Yes, I did.
And then what happened?
And then when the months went and the money wouldn't be coming in, they were getting very stressful.
What do you mean the money wouldn't be coming in?
The money that was supposed to be coming in for the settlement. And it was getting closer to the wedding. And the mother-in-law was getting very stressful. Where's the money? Where's the money? And I didn't have the money. And what little that I did have, I went ahead and altered her wedding dress. And I had paid for the cleaning. I had paid $100 towards the mariachis. Just little things like that, but never did I ever hear that they had, confronted the mother, the biological mother, for any money. After everything that we've done for her, I just can't understand why she comes around and wants to sue me for $532 when it's over an amount of over $5,000 that we have here in receipts.
Let me just take a look and see, because you have a counterclaim, which you understand.
Yes.
I really can't address, and I'm going to tell you why. Because you never had an agreement with her.
Exactly.
That she was going to repay you for your kindnesses.
Yes.
You gave to her because you wanted to. In order for me to entertain your countersuit, I have to find that there was a contract, even if it was a verbal one, for her to pay you. And there wasn't one.
Exactly.
Okay. So let me take a look at some of these things.
There is the orthodontist bill way at the back. It shows $1,000 paid towards her dental work.
Did she pay $1,000 towards your dental work?
Did she? No, she didn't.
Who
I
did?
have
The
copies
insurance.
right here of everything that I paid for. The contract is in my name. So I don't know what she's talking about.
Oh, did you actually pay for her orthodontia?
My husband's medical insurance paid for that, yes.
Now, when you were there for 2 years, 2.5 years, were you going to school?
Yes. I paid rent. I paid her $37.50 a week, which added up to $150 a month.
And what did that include?
I didn't have to pay for groceries or anything. The only thing that we had to pay for was shampoo and detergent, stuff that we used.
Okay. So for $150 a month, you covered your rent, your gas, electric, your food, and whatever other incidental expenses that they may have paid for. They took you out to dinner. When family went out to dinner, did you go with them?
Yeah.
And when the family went out to dinner and you went with them, were you asked to pay your share?
No, sometimes she would treat, sometimes we would treat. It was never like they paid for everything.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
If you do things for people, then that's out of the kindness of your heart. You don't have to keep a log, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this.
I happen to think you're pretty ungrateful.
And later today,
I don't think he thought anything wrong with the three of you living nicely together. You look like three nice people. You could live nicely together.
Yeah, the Golden Girls do it.
What? The Golden Girls do it? He's cute.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gracie Braun says her best friend's mother, Rita Holguin, used her credit card and never paid her back. Rita says she not only paid her back, but she supported her for over 2 years.
Now tell me about the Sears credit card. Why did you need her Sears credit card?
The time that I used a charge card, it was probably just something that I had to buy, and the money hadn't came in yet, the settlement, and I knew I was going to pay her back. And I specifically remember paying her back because what I do is I put it in a list of who I have to pay, and when I got my settlement, my sister here, she was there when I showed her that I was going to pay Gracie. I entered my daughter's room, and I had the money in my hand. I says, Gracie, would you like for me to go pay the Sears account, or would you do it yourself? She had stated, I'll pay it later, Mom.
Your Honor, I moved out of her house while she was in Hawaii. I went back the night before, and she helped me get the rest of my stuff to take me. I don't know when she came and gave me this money, because I have statements here. She signed her own name on my card, and this one she signed my name. So I don't know if you want to look at these, but she never gave me any money.
But Ms. Braun, tell me about this wedding problem, because that's probably what precipitated this lawsuit. I can't imagine otherwise why you would, after what appears to me to be tremendous kindness by a total stranger to you, you would come into court and sue her for $500.
That wasn't even the thing. I called, I have talked to her on many occasions about this bill. I told her, I cannot afford to pay this anymore because that's not right. You know, she did do a lot of things for me out of the kindness of her heart, which I don't understand why she wants me, or why she's patting herself on the back. If you do things for people, then that's out of the kindness of your heart. You don't have to keep a log, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this.
We're talking about 2.5 or more years of taking care of, really, a total stranger. And there's something else here. I mean, maybe it's about this wedding business. Did you have a big wedding?
Yes, I did.
Did you expect her, was there an arrangement where you expected her to pay for part of the wedding?
I never asked her, she offered.
Offered to pay how much?
For half.
How much was the wedding?
I don't even know. My mother-in-law paid for everything. She made arrangements to pay for the whole thing. She offered to pay for half, so she started adding in, oh, let's have mariachis, let's do this, let's do that, because she was going to pay for half.
Right.
Well, 2 weeks before the wedding, she started saying, I can't pay for this, I can't pay for that, I can't pay for this. I never said anything to her about it. That was never an issue with me.
Were you angry? Was your mother-in-law angry?
No.
And I don't understand why you're suing her.
Because it's money that she charged on my bill. I don't think that I should have to pay that.
And you say you paid her when she came back into the house?
I paid her when I got my settlement. As you can see, I have papers there where I got our check in '96. It was in March of '96 we got a check for $18,000.
How could you pay me in March when you didn't charge till the 2nd of March and the April 18th and 19th? How did you pay me?
Ms. Braun.
Anyway,
I don't understand why you're so angry with her.
It's frustrating.
Why is it frustrating?
She's saying she paid me for something she hadn't even charged yet.
No, she said she got her settlement at that time, so she had the money.
That's when she paid me, in March. She hadn't even charged anything in March until March 2nd and April 18th and 19th.
Ms. Braun, I don't know why you're so angry with this lady. It's not what she said. She said she had the money because she got the settlement in March.
Then she should have paid me the money she owed me.
I'm not satisfied that she didn't pay you the money. I happen to think you're pretty ungrateful.
She is.
She says she paid you. Anybody who takes a total stranger into their house, treats her like one of their own for 2.5 years, when their own mother is not taking care of her, takes care of putting her on their insurance so that at least she has the opportunity of having her teeth fixed, so that she does have medical insurance, even if it's just another $20 a week that's taken out of this man's paycheck to ensure that you are covered by insurance. She fed you. She provided a roof over your head.
Right.
She treated you like a member of the family.
That's right.
So that means she's a pretty good person. And that means this pretty good person is telling me I paid her. I have to believe a nice person like Miss Holquin would not lie to me about paying you back. So your lawsuit's dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She burned the bridge that she walked on. You know, she doesn't have a family now. You know, she has nobody.
I have a family.
Oh,
We never
yeah.
had
All right. That's right.
You know
That's
what?
right.
Used her. Thank you that the knight in shining armor came and took you
Away. Good.
And now the next case.
Parties on Taylor versus Guillaume. Step forward, please.
50-year-old Hallie Taylor is suing 46-year-old bus driver Patricia Guillaume because of emotional distress while they both lived in the home of a former boyfriend named Lee Coleman. Patricia is countersuing for malicious prosecution.
Well, this is a very unusual complaint and countersuit. You're Lee?
Yes.
The cause of all the trouble. According to these papers, Ms. Taylor, you unfortunately became homeless.
Yes.
Lee was a friend of yours.
Yes.
At first he said that you could sleep in your car in his driveway.
Yes.
But then said, why don't you move into the house? Is that right?
Yes.
Just to be kind.
Yes.
Shortly thereafter, Lee over here extends an invitation to this young lady to also come to the house, to rent a room. Is that right?
Yes. No, that's reverse. That's reverse. That's not. Pat was already there.
This is Pat.
Right.
Lee, you want to step up here? Don't talk to me sitting.
Okay.
I like when you stand when you talk to me, so come
Okay.
on up here. She was already living there when you invited Miss Taylor to come in to the house?
Yes.
For how long?
Oh, I was still moving my things in. And when I had gotten the last of my belongings in, then he had informed me that she was going to be living there.
Bottom line is, at about the same moment, these two women came into your house.
That's not true.
Within days of each other?
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
sit down. Within days, you both found yourself living with Lee. You had no idea she was going to be there, and you had no idea she was going to be there.
Yes, I knew she was going to be there because he had already had rented her the room.
But she wasn't living there already?
No.
Okay. And the two of you didn't get along?
No.
You two?
Yes.
And you say because you didn't get along, she caused you all kinds of stress, high blood pressure, hypertension, and you wanted to pay you $5,000.
Yes.
And you are suing her for malicious prosecution.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She's saying another thing. If I want to F Lee, I wouldn't wait till you leave. I'll F him while you here.
Lee! Having two women live in your home is not a good idea.
I don't know that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 50-year-old Hallie Taylor is suing 46-year-old bus driver Patricia Guillaume because of emotional distress while they both lived in the home of a former boyfriend named Lee Coleman. Patricia is countersuing for malicious prosecution.
All right. This is not going to take very long, Miss Taylor. Tell me how she caused you stress.
From day one, Pat aggravated me. She antagonized me.
Give me an example.
There are two incidents that took place. The first incident took place in the garage. We were in the garage talking. Lee, Pat. First was Lee and Pat. And then all of a sudden, And she said, your girlfriend. And I was standing over there by the back of his truck. And she rushed over there to me and got in my face, and she said, don't you use my bathroom. Incident number 2, she stated she wanted to have a talk face to face. Lee got us together with Lee present. We started talking. She did the talking first. She says, I don't like you. She said, I think you're nasty. I think you're a liar. I think you're a con woman. And I think you're not trustworthy. I said, well, Pat, I don't see how you can make all these consumptions about me. You don't know me for about 2 weeks. And then when she finished, I said, you finished saying what you have to say? So then I said what I had to say.
Well, what did you say?
I said, well, Pat, I can't help if you don't like me. But the things that you were saying about me is not true. That's not me. Okay. And before I said something else, and she said another thing. If I want to F Lee, I wouldn't wait till you leave. I'll F him while you here. And I say, well, go ahead.
That's honest.
Go ahead. I mean, you know, I care less.
Okay.
And then she walked over to me and she rushed up in my face. I mean, she was so close, I felt the breath, her warm breath from her mouth.
What'd she
say?
say?
Left breath touching my left shoulder. And then Lee saw that the conversation wasn't going anywhere, so he stepped in between us.
So those are the 2 incidents that you're complaining about?
Yes, and each incident I went to the hospital.
Miss Taylor, those were 2 what we call conversations, not worthy of a lawsuit. She didn't hit you. She didn't threaten you.
Oh, yes, she did.
No, not in the 2 instances you told me. Yeah, it's not a lawsuit.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Countersuit. What are you countersuing her for?
Well, this whole thing, it annoyed me. It annoyed me because
Miss Guillaume, this whole thing annoys me. Let me tell you something. It's late, and I'm getting annoyed.
What had happened, once I had picked up the suit, I had sued Lee, Mr. Coleman, and...
What'd you sue him for?
I wanted my money back.
You mean the money that you gave him for your apartment?
Yes, what had happened...
Did you get it?
Yes, I did.
You did? Good. Well, that's good. You know, Lee, having 2 women live in your home is not a good idea.
I don't know that.
Miss Taylor, Miss Guillaume, this is not a case that belongs in court.
Okay.
Either your lawsuit or your countersuit. I think this gentleman made a very bad judgment. He was probably trying to be a good guy. I don't think he was trying to be bad. I think he was a friend of yours. He was trying to help you out. I don't think he thought anything wrong with the 3 of you living nicely together. You look like 3 nice people. You could live nicely together.
Yeah, the Golden Girls do it.
What? The Golden Girls do it? He's cute. All right. Go have a nice day. This lawsuit and the countersuit are dismissed.
Party's our excuse. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It was just more than I could take. You know, I like you, while she's jabbing you in your back. You know.
That's not true.
Jones because his rabbit attacked her and bit her on the ankle.
Order, all rise. Judge, this is case number 363 on the calendar in the matter of Mahal versus Jones. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ladies.
Mr. Jones, you are the owner of a petting zoo. Is that correct?
Yes,
Is that
Your
a
Honor.
children's petting zoo?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were there with your children?
With my one son with a play group.
And you allege in your complaint that while there you were bitten by one of his animals.
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
I was there in the petting zoo area, and I happened to see a young boy with long pants on get bitten by the same rabbit. And I spoke to the mother, and I says, oh, check to see if he broke the skin. And when I said the skin, this rabbit came from behind the bench and grabbed my leg, bit in, and with his claws and everything, held my leg and wouldn't let go. I had to actually shake him loose from me.
When did you go to the doctor?
I went to the doctor's. It was almost 8:30 by the time I actually got the appointment.
The same day that
yes.
you arrived home?
Yes.
Do you have the doctor's report?
Yes.
May I see it, please?
It's all the medical.
I see, August 21st. Okay, clean wound, and then you were given some augmentin.
Augmentin.
Okay. Okay, sir. She says she was bitten by one of your rabbits.
I won't deny that, Your Honor, because it happens occasionally. I have no recollection of Mrs. Majul's incident. However, I might defer to my wife, who was in the barn at the same time we were. We were very busy that day, and she recalls offering some aid to some lady that came and mentioned that someone had been bitten by a rabbit.
Where's your wife?
It's my wife, Millie.
Could you step up, please? Do you remember this date in August? Do you remember this lady?
I don't remember the lady. I remember when the letter arrived and it said Oceanside. I remembered the group that arrived on the train that day at the farm.
Did you in fact assist someone who had been bitten?
A friend did come to me. I work at the entrance, and said that her friend was bitten by a rabbit in the petting area. I had hydrogen peroxide and Band-Aids for first aid, and she said my friend has taken care of it. She has an antiseptic in her purse. And I said, well, I'll send somebody in to catch the rabbit and remove it from the petting area. When you see them, point out which rabbit it is so we can remove it.
Mr. Jones, I am going to show you a document that's entitled General Liability Notice of Occurrence of Claim.
Yes.
And I want to ask you if this is something that you filled out. Is that something that you filled out for your insurance company, sir?
What I did, I sent a letter to the insurance company along with Mrs. Majul's letter explaining, to the best of my knowledge, after talking to my wife, the situation.
Okay.
And this document is fairly accurate, yes.
Okay. Now, I will tell you that this came along with your statements, your complaint and your answer, along with several other documents that you wish me to consider. I was concerned about something that I read here, and I'd like you to see if you can explain it to me. It says that OP, which I assume is you, I don't know what that stands for, allegedly bitten by a rabbit. However, rabbit did not belong to you, captured rabbit someplace, and placed it in a cage there at the petting zoo. Now, do you remember who said that? Was it you or your wife?
My daughter actually caught the rabbit, Your Honor. At least she
You the daughter?
She did. It's my daughter, Jennifer.
Jennifer, you caught this rabbit?
Yes, that's our policy. If one of the rabbits maybe gets too much handling, or they get sometimes too much handling, and we take them and put them in a cage in the back.
No, it says rabbit did not belong to you.
Right.
It was captured someplace.
I don't know about the captured part.
Well, that's what it says. Captured rabbit someplace and placed it in a cage there at the petting zoo. Does that mean it was captured someplace outside of the petting zoo? It was a wild rabbit?
What it is the public on occasion, if they don't want their animal anymore, excuse me, will drive by and let it out. So this rabbit was hanging around the petting area because of the other rabbits.
Do you know that for a fact, or is this something that you...
No, I know all the animals there, and this was an unusual rabbit.
So this was not a rabbit that was supposed to be on your petting farm, is that correct?
Correct.
When did you first know that it was there?
It had been there probably 2 days, and you have to kind of see our place to understand it's hard to catch them.
What do you mean it was an unusual rabbit?
Unusual. It wasn't one of ours. I know them, and I knew it wasn't ours.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This rabbit was not our rabbit, and we didn't want this rabbit.
Unfortunately, what you're saying to me is only making matters worse, Miss Jones.
And later today,
show me since May your checks to Sign and Travel.
Did you hear what I said? I said there isn't any.
There is.
I haven't paid since May.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lori Mahal is suing zoo owner Gil Jones because a rabbit attacked her. Gil says it wasn't his rabbit.
I have another question for you, because something that's concerned me. When you bring these animals into your petting zoo, were they tested for rabies?
Julie Ryan, she's the vet at the Orange County Animal Shelter. She comes on a regular basis to check the animals. They don't vaccinate rabbits for rabies, nor do they, if you were to get bit, they don't come and quarantine them.
Why?
Because that's what she told us. She's a head vet at the animal shelter. I called them to have clarity on that matter, and that's what...
So you mean to tell me that you can take in a wild rabbit, because as far as you know, this could have been a wild rabbit, wasn't one that was bred in your facility, and they are not vaccinated for rabies?
They don't vaccinate the rabbits for rabies. But this rabbit was, it was not our rabbit, and we didn't want this rabbit, but we couldn't catch it. So the shelter did come and take it. They came and took it.
Unfortunately, what you're saying to me is only making matters worse, Miss Jones, and I'm going to tell you why. Because according to you, you saw this rabbit on your premises for at least 2 days before this incident occurred, and it was not removed. You knew that it wasn't a rabbit that belonged on your premises, so you knew that it wasn't one that had a history of being gentle and being used to being touched. And yet you permitted all these children to come and play in your petting zoo, despite the fact that you knew that this one animal was not one that you could vouch for. This was an animal that you knew you had not seen before, did not belong there, and and you knew that at least 2 days before this lady was bitten. So you're liable for her injuries. Now, what do you believe your injuries are?
Okay.
Is the question. You were bitten by a rabbit.
I was bitten, and I still have the scars, and I have pictures here, and these pictures were taken a month after the bite.
Let me take a look at them.
You can see the scar, and I can also show you the leg. It's still got a big purple scar on my ankle.
Well, I would like to see it. Ooh, that's nasty.
And this is 4 months.
That is nasty. You say that you missed work.
Yes, I missed 41 hours of
So you missed a week's worth of work?
Yes.
And how much, why did you miss that much work?
Because it was still painful.
What kind of work do you do?
It was swelling. I work on my feet. I'm a cashier. So I couldn't stand on my feet.
So you missed a week's worth of work. You had certain medical bills. They were minimal because you covered, your medical bills are covered. Your request is for $1,250, and that, I assume, includes pain and suffering.
Yes.
That's a minimal request, Mr. Jones. Quite frankly, you are absolutely liable for this rabbit that was on your property. And sometimes unfortunate things happen, I'm certain. But in this particular case, it's even more egregious, sir, because you knew that this rabbit did not belong on your property. You had no idea where it came from. You had no idea whether it was a wild rabbit and could have been infected. And you did not, according to what I've heard today, exercise due care in removing that rabbit immediately from your premises, which you should have. The rabbit bit her, and she's entitled to be compensated. 4 months later, she still has a substantial scar as a result of this. Judgment is of the plaintiff in the amount of $1,250 as requested. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
That's our story, and that's the truth. And That's all we can say. We can't really expound on what the judge ruled. She made her point of law very clear.
And now the next case.
Parties on Torres versus Biles. Step forward, please.
31-year-old Michelle Torres says her mother's ex-husband, 33-year-old Roger Bile, borrowed Michelle's credit card for an Aspen vacation. Roger didn't pay her back because he didn't go to Aspen.
Hi, Miss Torres, the defendant was married to your mother.
Correct.
How long were they married?
About 6.5 years.
Is this your mother?
Yes, it is.
Are you now divorced, sir?
Yes.
But while you were married to her mother, according to this complaint, he borrowed some money from you by putting some tickets on a credit card that was yours.
Right, a ski package deal.
And you were all living together at this time?
Correct, I was living with them.
Made some payments?
Yeah, made some payments.
And he still owes you $1,100?
Correct.
So you want to tell me how this loan came about?
In December of '94, Roger came to me and wanted to go to Aspen, Colorado for a ski trip. He asked me if
This is Roger.
This is Roger. He asked me if I would put this ski package on my American Express card because the Ritz-Carlton was running a special if you put it on your American Express card. He had previously had an American Express card, but it had been canceled. I went to my mom, I told my mom, asked her, Roger wants me to do this, should I do this? She advised me not to. She said he still had unpaid bills and debts, even though he made plenty of money, he's just kind of doesn't pay his bills. He had repeatedly promised that he would pay me back, and so I believed him, and it was a Christmas present for him and my mom and myself. It was a Christmas bonus as well. So I believed him.
What do you mean a Christmas bonus?
Well, I had worked for him, and he said it was my Christmas present and a bonus since I did such a good job working for his business. So we went on the ski trip. Everything was fine. We came back. He started...
The three of you?
The three of us went on the ski trip, went skiing, had a good time. And we came back, he started making payments, like he promised that he would pay my American Express card.
So this was a sign and travel on American Express?
Exactly.
So you don't have to pay it off at one time, you can pay off little bits at a time.
Right. So he kept promising me that he was going to pay it in larger chunks, and the chunks got smaller and smaller. And I believed him. He promised me that you're my stepdaughter, I would never screw you over, no matter what happens between him and my mom. In April of this year, he committed adultery on my mom, so my mom divorced him. And in May, he came to my work and said that he would give me $400 towards $1,500 he owed me. The amount got down to $1,500 from $3,000.
It was originally $3,000.
Right.
He paid $1,500.
Correct.
He still owed $1,500.
Correct.
And then in May he paid another $400.
Correct. Brought it down to $1,100.
Okay.
And right after I had him sign
this... So far, is that correct, sir? You made those payments?
It's been paid off.
Mr. Bile, so far you made payments?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
3 weeks after Linda and I split up, everything from my home was stolen. Linda took it all. Every document, every paperwork, every receipt.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michelle Torres is suing her mother's ex-husband, Roger Bile, for not paying for an Aspen vacation.
What happened after May? He gave you $400.
And signed this receipt telling me he would pay me the rest of the $1,100.
Show it to him, please.
That's his original signature.
You remember that? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, after May, did he make any payments?
No.
Okay. Why not?
The debt she's talking about for the Aspen trip was paid in full.
No, it wasn't.
Judge, don't speak.
The tickets that she's talking about that was on the sign and travel was for a trip for my ex-wife to go to Europe with her other daughter, and later on I found out her first husband.
Yeah.
That was put on sign and travel. The Aspen trip was paid in full.
Show me.
I have no receipts.
Just a second. How much was the Aspen trip, sir?
About $3 grand.
Well, show me that you paid the $3,000.
I'd love to, Your Honor. 3 weeks after Linda and I split up, everything from my home was stolen. Linda took it all. Mm-hmm. Every document, every paperwork, every receipt.
Mr. Bile, so what you're saying to me, sir, is that you acknowledged that you put $3,000 on her sign and travel.
Correct. I didn't. Michelle did it. It was an agreement we had at home. She lived with me at the time.
But that you agreed to pay for it, and you did, what you just said to me was it was paid in full.
Yes.
But you do not have any receipts to show or any checks.
I don't have them. I had to give them to another court.
Well, Mr. Bile, I'm not so sure that you can't get duplicate copies of every check, sir. But I'm looking at your answer. And your answer says, if I am liable for this debt, I hope you will recognize that it's a community debt and a 50-50 split with my ex-wife, as well as the $4,000 I already paid. So in one respect, you say to me here, sir, that you've already paid it.
I have
And
paid.
here, you say, if it is a debt, half of it should be hers.
There was $1,500 left on the debt. I don't say there wasn't. The Aspen trip was $3,000. The Europe ticket for Linda was $1,500. That's the rest of the portion that needed to be paid. There was two separate things that went on her sign and travel.
When do you say she came into your house and took all the records?
It's about 3 weeks prior to that.
3 weeks prior to what?
To the signing of that receipt.
Okay.
The reason I signed that receipt is because they said it's the only way I could get back some tax documents I needed.
I know that you say you signed this thing under duress, sir. I'm not interested in that. You don't look like the kind of man who would sign something under duress.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So what you're telling me is 3 weeks after they allegedly took all this stuff, you signed this document indicating you still owed her $1,500.
Yes.
Okay. So that your story to me, Mr. Bile, does not have a ring of truth to it. Because if you say she stole all your documents prior to this, then you should have all your documents subsequent to this. And if you admitted that you owed her $1,500 in May, you should have everything after May to show me that you paid her, because you say it's paid in full.
I haven't paid since May.
Well, why not?
Because I never, first of all, never got contacted from her or sent an invoice or any kind of documentation how much the payment was.
What do you mean how much the payment was? You signed something that said $1,500.
These were monthly payments that were set up.
Just a second. You had been paying Sign and Travel. Your checks went your checks went to Sign and Travel, correct? Show me since May your checks to Sign and Travel.
Did you hear what I said? I said there isn't any.
There is.
I haven't paid since May.
Then I'm asking you again, sir. You had paid before May, and you say you don't have those checks because they were all stolen. So since May, you should have the checks if you in fact paid. And if you didn't pay, then according to this signed document, which is a note, you still owe her the money, which is, at this point, $1,100 because you paid her $400 in May.
Okay.
Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100. That's all.
Thank
Why is that excuse? You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Forget it. I'm done. I'm done.
Loser.
I'm done. I told you to keep
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I said something like that on camera. He's completely lying. I'm sorry. He's done nothing but just want to have fun all the time. It doesn't matter what he does. He just enjoys the fun and throws everybody else away and everything away, never pays the bill, and never does anything.
Yeah.
All he does is care about himself.
He's lying. He's lying.
तुमको नेपाली लड़की पटाना है तो ये सब सीखना पड़ता है।
हाँ, लड़की पटाना है तो ऐसा सीखना होता है।
लड़की नेपाल का लड़की ऐसे ही बॉयज को पसंद करती।
वही तो
तुमको पिछले मैच में लड़की से खिलाया था ना, वो भी क्या रफ बोल रही थी।
हाँ एक लड़की आया था ना, वो भी ऐसा बोल रहा है।
हाँ और नेपाली लड़की को पटाना होता तो इधर ऐसा ही बोलती।
ये सिस्टम होता है क्या?
मैच सीखने भालू करती।
वही बोलना पड़ेगा
भाई, कुछ भी बोलना पड़ता है।
मेरा तो पीसी लैग करने लगता है, इसीलिए फोन में आता है। भाई तुम्हारा ग्राफिक कार्ड क्या है? ग्राफिक कार्ड है कि नहीं?
हाँ हाँ है।
कौन सा?
मेरा ग्राफिक कार्ड का थ्री क्या होता है मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा है।
उधर देखती हूँ, उधर होती है सीपीयू में।
हाँ सीपीयू में होता है। मैं देखना पड़ेगा बट थोड़ा रुको, मैं एक काम पे हूँ ना, एक काम भी करता हूँ।
बाद में देखती हूँ आराम से।
हाँ हाँ बाद में 30 ऐसा कुछ 3060 ऐसा कुछ।
वो तो ना होती, वो तो कुछ और ही होती है।
वो तो कुछ और ही होता है भाई। मेरे साथ क्या क्या होता है आपको मालूम नहीं है।
में लूट कर देता हूँ छोटे वाले में।
मुझे थोड़ा कवर करो, मैं एक काम पे हूँ, थोड़ा कवर करो। इधर कोई एनिमी आया है क्या? बोल रहा था कि इधर कोई एनिमी आया है क्या?
तो 4 नंबर ट्रैफिक रिपोर्ट पे जाओ। क्या नंबर जाओ तो वो तो
कौन मार गया? कौन मार गया?
रुको म बताइदिन्छु।
बन के लाउडा ने निपटा दिया।
थोड़ा वेट करो, मेरे एक काम पे हो।
तिमी मेरो मसँग झरै त्यो उसमा उलुट्ने आर्थिङ लुटमा है।
ए ल कहाँ रह्यो त माथि के
तपाईले माथि आइदिनु आर्थिङ लुट्ने हैन हैन उयो ल त्यहाँको आर्थिङ त छिटो मन आर्थिङमा है सबैजना आर्थिङमा।
ल तिमीहरु नि पीसीबाट हो कि फोनबाट हो केटा?
म पीसीबाट हो। मिलन चाहिँ उबाट हो, 2 GB र्यामबाट मोबाइलबाट खेल्छ।
अच्छा
लास्टै ह्याङ हुन्छ यो मुनाको मोबाइल बिचाराको।
स्नाइपर आउँदा चाहिँ भेट्टाउँछ क्या नचाहिने बेला। अहिले त्यत्रो खोज्यो है भेटाउँदैन क्या।
ह्याकर आउँछ त्यही माथि कामै छैन।
अहिले त म फोनबाट हालेकोसँग खेलेको 2-3 गेम पीसीबाट एक नम्बरसँग त्यो खेल्नु पर्यो भनेर। तिम्रो घर कहाँ हो नि 2 नम्बरको?
भक्तपुर हो मेरो।
भक्तपुर हो?
तिम्रो नि?
Capturing the defense airdrop.
Okay guys.
गाडी खाते होला त